Meeting is being live streamed.
There
Let's
you
get
go. We are live. All right, now. So what's up, everybody? This is Scott with Kingdom Gold, and I am holding up a Mickey Mouse cup. Now, you might be asking yourself, why in the world is Scott holding up a Mickey Mouse cup? Well, the answer is because I'm showing Bryce that he shouldn't be nervous at all, and that even when people need the only clean cups they have available are Mickey Mouse cups, and that's what they put their coffee in so they can do their interviews. It's okay, we're all friends here, So Mickey Mouse is helping Bryce calm down, get his jitters out and all that. Is that right? Does Mickey Mouse help?
yes. I love Mickey Mouse. I wish I had my own Mickey Mouse cup right now with a cup of Joe.
And for what it's worth, you will not look or say anything more ridiculous than me holding up this Mickey Mouse cup right now. So everything from here on out that you do is totally good. Does that make you feeling better?
Yes. Just a little bit.
Come on, man. Look, when I put it in the comments, this is your debut. This is your first interview of what's probably going to be many more interviews, and you are going to be. I have the distinct privilege, of opening the door for your online career. I mean, this is a big moment.
Yeah. Why are you hyping me up so much?
You know what? Actually, in all seriousness, I have realized that mindset is so much more important than, if you say something right, do something right, do an interview, not do an interview, whatever. So me, it's like my and you probably read this already in 10X rule. My mindset is that I will be like the next Kevin O'Leary or Mark Cuban or, Jeff Bezos or something. That's where I'm headed. And are the odds stacked against me? Yes, whatever. But that my mindset is that's where I'm going. So, I'm not joking when I say like, Bryce is going to be the next, youngest millionaire that I know, because like that's the kind of people you need around you. If people can't see, if people can't see that in you and see your potential, then you don't need to be hanging around them. So, like, yeah, okay, I get it. You're not there yet, but you keep working like you're doing and growing and learning, like, yeah, you'll get there. So I'm not really joking.
I do have the same feeling, man. I gotta admit, I feel that about you too. Like, man, you dead on about the jitters and nervousness though. It's working on me right now.
Yeah. So I've interviewed. Well, I mean, you know me. I can generally read people pretty good at this point, but also, why is that not? Oh, there you go. So I've also I've interviewed enough people to know, like, oh, I'm on camera. What am I going to say? What am I going to look like? Is my hair? It's like literally no one cares. Literally no one cares. If they're watching, they just want to hear what you have to say. I'm even thinking about some of these. At least with the interviews, I know you can like take the audio, rip the audio out of a video, and then you can like post it as a podcast. So this could be like a podcast of mine, or ours, I should say, at some point in the future.
Yeah. I gotta tell you that I started watching. I say watching. Gosh, listening to a podcast at work. Bigger Pockets. Have you ever heard of that? Real estate podcast with Brandon Turner and Josh. Forgot his last name, but I started 3 days ago and I'm already on episode 16. A lot of helpful information in those. It talks about wholesaling and getting into buying rental properties and flipping properties, and it has guests for each episode, and they go into detail about all the deals and the numbers and whatnot.
Let's talk about that just for a little bit. So again, what a lot of people don't realize, and honestly, I didn't realize this until maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that you're not going to remember every detail of everything you ever listen to or that you ever watch or whatever. But what's going to happen is that even subconsciously, it's going to mold your mind and your thinking. And then you're going to pick up little tidbits here, like, oh, real estate wholesaling. What even is that? And that's going to lock in your brain. And then the more you expose yourself with positive things, you're just planting seeds in your mind, and they're going to grow over time. So that's why people, instead of listening to like music on the way to work, or stupid podcasts, okay, I'll just say it like that, listen to something that's actually going to benefit you. Listen to a book, listen to 10x Rule, listen to Bigger Pockets podcast, listen to the Kingdom Gold podcast that we're going to have one day. Me and Bryce are going to take over the interwebs, right? And that's why it's good that you're doing that stuff, because people just don't realize they need to start today with something. Just start listening to a podcast, and yeah, it's going to take time and all that, but you're going to get there.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. I gotta say though, a lot of people don't at work. They don't like me listening to it, because when I'm doing my thing and working with my hands, I'm at a point where I don't really need to think about the job at hand, because it's almost muscle memory half the time. Right. So I'm listening, focusing on the words of the podcast, and then my buddy chirps up behind me saying something. I'm like, huh? I said, oh, you've been ignoring me this whole time? Like, oh, you've been talking? Huh? I'm sorry. I'm learning here.
Well, actually, that's a good way to. Technically, we haven't started the interview, and I think it's been like 10 minutes. So Bryce, welcome aboard. So for anyone that might be listening right now, Bryce, a friend of mine. I love him to death, but also am mad at him because he is 21 years old. Actually, just turned 21, so he's freshly an adult, and he's already. I'd say probably at least 17 times more entrepreneurial minded than I was at 21. And really and truly, Bryce doesn't even realize this, but he's kind of taken off as far as his mindset and his skill set. And I keep telling him, by about 26, he'll probably be able to walk away from whatever job he's at the time. So I'm proud of you, but I'm also very jealous, and mad at you a little bit. So Bryce, welcome aboard. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and maybe kind of, what led you to start the entrepreneurial path that you're on?
Well, I want to start off by thanking you, Scott, for having this interview with me. It's an honor and a nervous wreck at the same time. But I started, I want to say, back in high school, around 15, 16 years old. My dad lost his job. And at the time I was in summer workouts for football, and I had to confront the coach. That's one thing I feared, because I wanted to stay in football and I loved it. I loved the sport. Same thing with baseball. It wasn't the season yet, but I was also training for baseball. I had to go up to my coaches and tell them that I won't be able to participate anymore because I had to go to work. So I started working at a young age, doing all my own financing, paying for all my things like gas and clothes and all that extra stuff that's not, say, rent and food and whatever. And around, I think, 17, I put my hands on an axe and a sledgehammer, and I started splitting wood. So me and my buddy, Chris Ellis, we started splitting firewood and selling it by the truckload. And that took off. I think it was the summer of 2019. I got a job offering from my uncle to be an electrician in the plant, so electrician helper at the time. So I started off doing that at $18 an hour, and that really brought a lot of money in. So I was able to start investing it in stuff that will make me money. So as a wood splitter, a person who splits wood, I was like, well, I'm tired of swinging an axe. Let me get a wood splitter and speed up this process a little bit. So we started pumping wood out. And it took me about a year of doing that to realize that this is extremely hard work. And I really started, yeah. I started thinking about different ways to start having that cash flow come in, and started thinking about my future, because there was a bunch of stuff going down with my dad. He actually had a seizure, and that was a big eye opening for me. And
let's talk about that. Not to interrupt you, just
it's all right.
Let's analyze where we're at right now. Okay, so you realized, basically, in a nutshell, you didn't want to split wood for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that, man, I'm telling you, because that very similar realization for me, that is what started my entrepreneurial journey. And honestly, for years, Bryce, which is why I'm mad at you, for years, I ignored that. I always thought, man, I wish I could make more money, wish I could be more independent, wish I could help my family more, things like that. But then it just never occurred to me that I could go do something. There's a long story behind that. Maybe I should really do a video about that. But for you to have that realization and then to take action on it is just huge. And I really want to emphasize that. So, like, listen to what Bryce is saying. Okay. So he had a pain point where he didn't want to split wood anymore. And then he had the realization he had to make a shift. Right. And like what you're saying, like with your dad, and, we all have like family members that are going to need help at some point, or friends that are going to need help at some point, community members, whatever. And I'm telling you, man, I'm just so happy for you, because the realization of like the bigger picture, like what you're talking about, is, there's a lot of people that miss that. So just wanted to bring that up. Keep going.
So I started looking for new ways to start getting the cash flow up. I started taking jobs. And by the way, to anybody listening, do not ever say no to an opportunity. Always say yes. You'll regret it afterward.
Absolutely.
Well, I started taking small jobs around the house, around other people's houses, like picking out weeds and flower beds, and trimming limbs on their property, and just small stuff like your normal yard chores, basically, for people that was just unable to do it, mostly older people. Well, I also got into, around that time, I saw this ad for some guru in real estate, buying and selling rent houses. So I started watching this guru, and about one thing about gurus, they are very motivational. But after they give you their pitch and whatnot, they will say, pay me $1,000 and I'll give you $10,000 in, say, 2 months.
Yep.
Well, I started watching more videos on that dude, and I knew it was a load of DS. So I just started doing my own research.
Wise beyond your years, Bryce.
Yeah. So the first book I read on real estate was the book on rental properties, or investing in rental properties, by the Bigger Pockets and Brandon Turner. I completed that book. It took me about a year, because I was off and on, not really too interested in it at first, and unsure about it. And then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm like, okay, this is actually what I'm wanting to do. The Rich Dad Poor Dad is like, it's a whole plan on how you have your asset column and your expenses column, and how if you build your asset column and keep your expensive column low, you'll gain that cash flow. So yeah, I just got very motivated. Any spare time I had, like, I pull wire at work a lot. I get stuck in a pipe rack all day, multiple days a week, and I would bring my book in a pouch on my side up in that pipe rack, and whenever we would pause for the wire pull, I'll pull it out and read a chapter. I'm that motivated at this point. I'm so determined to just take on all the responsibility and all the challenges and not say no to anything.
Right.
because I feel like it's my duty at this point to become successful.
Elaborate on that. Why do you
Free.
think it's your duty?
Well, I feel like nobody else realizes that there are plenty of opportunities out there. And all you really need is that can-do attitude and just try to be a
That's
problem
the mindset,
solver.
man. Yeah.
Yeah. So not too many other people see that. So it's like I gotta do it. And show all these other people that you can be successful at this age.
Right.
It might take a lot of hard work and a lot of energy and hours to do it, but it's possible.
Absolutely, man. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I'm really glad you're on my team now, because we're going to do that together. We're going to free people from the rat race and from the old mindsets that have been holding people back. And especially with all this, just the foolishness in the world, the vaccine mandates, and governors can shut your job down basically at a whim, apparently. And then just in general, people just need to live better lives, man. I have seen so many families wrecked from working too many hours just trying to make ends meet. Especially if you start looking at like lower income households. The kids get into trouble because the parents are never there, and the parents are never there because they're always working, and they're always working because they got to make ends meet. So there's just this huge vicious cycle that we have in the world, and we're gonna break that. We're gonna say no to the cycle, and we're gonna help a lot of people get free from where they're at. So you're dead on, man. It's not a coincidence that we met up and started working together.
Not.
So along with that, who are some people that you have looked up to in life, kind of along the way, and tell us why.
So when I was younger, and until I still look up to him. My father, he gave me the work ethic that I have. He doesn't quit. He's always working, even though he's kind of disabled now. I don't want to say that too loud. He's gonna come over here and slap me for saying that, because he's still capable of doing a lot, but
Right.
he had an injury, and it kind of halted him from a lot of things. My uncle, the one I started working for, Mitchell, he taught me, when you have a job, complete it fully and make the best relationship with the clients, which that's something I am still working on. But complete the job to your best ability. And one thing you always said was, have the job, how you said that? Make the job look better than how it looked when you got there, as far as cleanliness.
Right.
So if there was trash on the ground that wasn't yours, go and pick that up, make that area look good, and highlight your work.
Right.
Make everything look good. And another mentor I have, man I look up to, is my other uncle, Dwayne. He's that man is sharp. He is an engineer. I'm really envy him. He's really a big role model of mine.
Awesome, man.
Mentally, spiritually, and I still haven't figured him out yet. But yeah, I've been trying to spend a lot more time with him lately. Go to church with him every Sunday. He leads the Bible class. When he starts talking, I just get amazed by all the stories and how he words everything. Like, man, you must have read a lot, because you can word everything perfectly almost.
Right.
And that's where I'm trying to get to. Like, I came up in how you say that, where the language is very choppy. I got a lot of Cajun French in my background. People who really don't even try to word their sentences properly. and I struggle with that all the time. You could probably hear it in my accent, but yeah, I'm trying to get better at forming sentences and making sure every single word is
Right.
said correctly and without an accent. But I'm struggling with that. Oh well.
Well,
Yeah, but that's
talking to people and talking to clients is definitely one way to practice that for sure.
exactly. And I mess with deal with a lot of local clients, but if I get people from up north, there's no way they'll look at me like I'm dumb. So I really have to work on that. I couldn't imagine that looking at me like, where did you come from?
Right.
What?
That's funny, man.
Oh man.
Yeah, cool.
Uh,
So
our, our
your two
language is so
uncles, your dad, that's it's awesome that you have some, some role models and some people that have uh kind of shown you the way a little bit.
and my grandpa, I have to say, I can't exclude him. My grandpa, he is the kindest man I know. He will give you the shirt off of his back and work for you, even when he's uh, I'm sorry, Papa, I forgot your age, but I think he's like 71. But
I think you'll forget you.
and he still works hard, man.
Dude, them old goats, man, it's just hard it's hard for them to stop working. There's just there's a different mentality. And I think that's why, my personal opinion is
Way
that
different from nowadays.
we're standing on the shoulders of the giants that came before us in our previous generation, and really the one before that. um I mean, they were a lot smarter than us.
Definitely. I have a 93-year-old grandma that still, she goes outside and tends to her flowers with her walker. I
That's
have
what
a
I'm talking about.
93-year-old grandpa. He's still strong as an ox. He was
He's
the
got
one
them
that
good genes, man.
he was the one pushing the plow in the ground behind the mule. Yeah, he that's a strong man. 93 years old, still walks around.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, see, I don't know if I have quite those good of genes. I gotta do something with that. So you kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. Wanted to get you to expound upon it a little bit, because there's a lot of people, especially young guys, that have no interest in business or no interest in doing their own thing. They have been taught and really programmed. Okay, they have been taught. You go to school, you get a job, you work for 40 years, and then maybe you have enough to eat till you die. Okay, that is like the formula for success of the American dream type thing,
Yeah,
right?
401ks are a scam.
Yeah, I don't. If we have time, we might get off on that tangent, because I'm 100% in agreement. What would you say to someone who is either afraid to start their own business, or is on the fence, or like, I could do something, and like, there's some people I know that they're really good at something, and people tell them all the time, "Hey, I would pay you to do this." And they're like, "No, I don't want." Is like, what would you say to someone who is on the fence about starting a business?
So what I think is there's two big things holding them back. One, the lack of knowledge about the certain topic, and two, the criticism from their peers.
Mm,
Either way, just do it, because who cares what those other
well
people are
said.
saying? And if you don't really know much about it, it's a perfect learning experience. I hear this all the time. I learn best when I'm like doing it myself, not out of a book or off a video or like stuff like that. Well, just do it then. Learn for yourself. That's what I've been doing.
No doubt. And just kind of like what you said, your uncle, how he can like phrase things so perfectly. Well, guess what? He was just like you at some point, right? He was
Yeah.
just like you, figuring out how to talk to people, hadn't read the Bible as much, stuff like that. But then he started somewhere, right? And he got better and better and better and better. And, years later, he has people looking up to him for how well he can speak, right? It's very similar. Just because you're not good right now, or just because you don't have all the answers right now, you got to start somewhere, man. And you got to give yourself the time to sow the seeds and to plow the fields and take up all the weeds and grow yourself and grow your mindset and figure things out. And that's why, again, I keep saying it, but I'm just, it's cool to see a young man like you with that mindset.
It's hard to find other people like me too. And that's one thing I'm working on now, is trying to build a team. I started a list on attorneys for business and real estate. I've been looking for a good CPA because Lord knows I need help with my taxes. I know nothing about that. And just team members as far as like management and good employees that I can trust.
Right.
I haven't found anybody yet.
It's tough, man. It's tough to find good people. And what's CPAs confuse me a little bit, because I have talked to maybe 4 of them in the past 2 years, and I guess like everyone needs a CPA right now because they're all trying to do better on their taxes, that they're not hurting for people, I guess. But to me, it's like, if someone's trying to give me money, I'm not gonna ghost them, and I'm not gonna not return their phone calls and stuff. So it's, CPAs are just a little weird on that to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I recently bought 2 books. What your CPA isn't telling you. I'm gonna find it out. And then Tax-Free Wealth. Yeah, CPA actually wrote it.
Nice.
I have yet to open them up, but that's when I start doing all the finances with my business, I'm gonna definitely read up on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to find, I'm kind of like you. I'm actively, so if anyone's watching this, I'm actively looking for strategic people for my team. So, I, to me, that's a good model. If you have like a CPA for the team, then the team all uses that one CPA, right? And everyone knows what to expect. He has a steady stream of customers that he knows what to expect, and it's a win-win, right? Graphic designers, same thing.
Attorneys,
Attorneys,
accountants.
et cetera, and so forth, man. It's like,
Yeah.
if you can get a good team together like that, man, y'all all just win. Everybody wins.
Yes. That's one thing that that first book I read, the book on real estate by Brandon Turner. That was one thing he preached on, was get a good team, attorney, CPA, marketer. Dude, I think it was 10 people. I think his number 1 was a good supportive spouse though. That's who
That
he
definitely
started.
helps.
Yeah.
No doubt. That definitely helps. But yeah, getting the team together that's another reason I think everyone should start now, because it takes a while to meet enough people and go through enough candidates. Because you don't want just like anybody on your team. You want good people, and you want to be very selective, because then it's just like a group project in school, right? You get the one person who does all the work. 2 of them like send the emails, and one of them just kind of hangs out and brings pizza every other Friday. You want a group of people who are ready to run, ready to, that are all of the same mindset, the whole thing. And it takes time to go through a lot of people.
On a podcast that I listened to, I think it was the 15th episode. There was a young couple, and they did flipping and wholesaling. And Brandon asked him, have you found a good way to screen contractors yet? He said, nope. He's been doing it for 15, no, not 15 years. I forgot how long, maybe 12. He said, nope, haven't found a good way to screen contractors yet. So that's one big team member that would really help in real estate, is a good contractor, a handyman that can take care of the property when you're not there.
So you'll probably be excited about this. I'll go ahead and let the cat a little bit out of the bag, but I'm actually developing a template right now on how to screen your team members, and contractors would be very similar. So for example, let's say, you have a bunch of different categories, right? Are they on time? Scale of 1 to 10. Are they a person of their word? Do they always do what they're going to say? Scale of 1 to 10. Do they ghost you? Scale of 1 to 10, things like that. And I'm actually going to come up with a formula that says, like, there's a 80% probability that this person would be a good team member, or like a contractor, there's 80% chance or higher that they're going to do a good job. I'm actually developing that as we speak.
I know you have one rental property, right?
Yep.
Didn't you mention that? I'm gonna have to lend you this book, Managing Rental Properties. It actually says word for word a lot of ways of screening. Find, screen, and manage tenants with fewer headaches and maximum profits. I'm gonna have to give that book to you. I'm halfway through it, but I guess I'm gonna just take a break on that one. I got a few other books that I got interested in.
The main problem with rental properties is that you just have to have so much capital, and there's just a lot more risk involved with rental properties. And I don't care what. I was actually watching Facebook has those reels now. They're like the TikTok videos. And I was watching one today, and he was a guru, right? And it was one of those, how I bought this, $700,000 rental property with none of my own money and made, blah, blah. It's like, bruh, you are so full of crap.
Yeah.
You are so full of crap. And it's like, okay, you're already a gazillionaire, you can afford to take some risks, and not taking that away from him, right? But you can afford, so don't just try to like peddle your book with, fanciful thoughts of like, Joe Blow me, right, can go get a $700,000 property for free. That's, people just need to understand that rental properties are not just, you don't just go do that. There is a whole lot of stuff involved with that.
So I actually learned about the way to buy rental properties with no money down. And what I found out by a few resources was your bank will finance 70 to 80% of it, right? You're supposed to have the 20% down payment. Mm-hmm. Well, if you can get a hard money lender, like a person who is willing to lend you that 20%, and you can get somebody in that house renting, you can start paying off your bank and your hard money lender like that first month and just start paying it off. But you will not make any money on that deal. Hardly any money until everything's paid off, and then that cash flow is starting to go to you and nobody else. That's right. It's going to take a few years.
And also, guess what? You have to have somebody that that is a multi-gazillionaire that is willing to give you that money, or lend
you're not going to do it on your first. You're not going to do it on your first time. There's no way. You're not.
Sometimes I just want to choke people. Like, stop lying to people.
Yeah.
So as a, I'm a marketing guy, but I'm also like an ethical marketing guy, right? There's some lines that I refuse to cross. I don't care if it's going to make me more money or not. Just, I'm in the business of helping people in a real way, not like stoking the fire of their dreams, so to speak. Mm-hmm. It makes me, mad. All right, back on track.
Yeah.
All right. So, from what you've experienced so far, what are some things that you feel like you need to get better at to be more successful in your business, or just like skills you need, things like that? What are some things you think you need to get better at?
So, what I said before, building that relationship with the clients. I found myself today. I acquired some kind of tunnel vision, and I called a client. I'm like, hey, would tomorrow be a good time to deliver this firewood between 1 and 4 o'clock? And she was saying, I get off around 4 o'clock, so 4 would be the earliest. I said, all right, thank you, bye. And it was like that. I'm like, okay, I did that wrong. I did not even try.
Okay,
it wasn't quite like that. I did say, okay, thank you.
Clear.
Yeah, but I didn't really get into any other conversation with her, and I regret it now. And I wish I'd build more of a relationship with that client, and been a little bit more polite, I guess. But yeah, I got
it's a learned skill, like me, I'm very much an oddball when it comes to that stuff. Like, I am a natural listener of people, or listener to people, how you want to say that. And I don't always enjoy that, but it's it's what God called me to do, apparently, right? I was talking to a customer the other day from my cleaning business, and she was telling me, like, within 37 seconds of, hey, I'm Scott Paget, how you doing? She was telling me about how she got like her hand got injured in a really kind of an assault, and how she wanted some cleaning help because her hand, she can't use her hand that well. And she's like, yeah, I don't even know why I'm talking about this. Normally I'm I don't tell everybody all my business. I'm like, well, that's just me. It just it just happened. But what I found is, like, if you every single time you talk to somebody, if you put forth the mindset that you want to know literally everything about them, not like in a creepy way, but in a, how can I help them in any type of way? That is that is kind of what the baseline that I use for talking to people. So it's like, hey, how you doing today? How's your family? How's work? Things like, and you just kind of open the door to let them talk about their lives, their interests, things like that. Um, and that way it's not like as cut and dry, like, hey, when you want your wood, 4 o'clock, bye, click. That's how you facilitate the
Yeah.
personal aspect of it. It's not so much about the job. You want to become part of their lives, again, not in a creepy way.
Yeah. One, I don't know if it's a quote or a phrase, but I learned from an older man back in the day was listen to understand, not to have a response.
Right.
And I find myself doing that with, not with my client, sometimes with my clients, but just to understand what this person is trying to tell me, instead of, like, I hear other people, like, they just want to say, yeah, and I already knew that. And all those small irrelevant responses, just they come back with like that. Like, did you even hear what they just said?
Yep.
It's so common in people nowadays. Just like, I just want to tell them, shut up and listen. But I can't do that.
You should sometime, like, hey, bro, shut up and listen.
I did that in class a few times.
Yeah.
I'm not naming anybody, but, like, dude, we need to learn this, so shut up.
There you go. No names. I can think of a few names.
Oh, I can think of.
Man, so man, I'm that just reminded me of the class that I had before you guys, and it was rough. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, man,
It was worse than the back right classmate I had. It was worse than him. Mr. Know-it-all, but not really know too much about anything.
Way worse. Like, you guys don't understand. Like, sometimes I think God messes with me, and that class was definitely one where it's like every Wednesday night. Yeah, I knew God was messing with me basically every Wednesday night. It was pretty rough.
That's
Like,
all it test.
yeah, y'all were angels compared to them.
That's saying a lot.
That is right. Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, it was.
I feel bad. You still working over there too?
I know.
Dang.
I know. So yeah, there's the finesse and art of talking to people correctly. Actually, there's a couple more books you ought to get. Have you heard of the book How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Let me write it down, but no. How to Win Friends and Influence People.
How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And
I heard the name before, Dale Carnegie.
The title, yeah, I think he was a billionaire of the 30s. Don't quote me on that. But I thought the title was kind of weird because it's like, I don't want to just get a book on how to influence people, like, because I thought it was kind of like a manipulative thing type thing. But he shows you in that book how to basically kind of do what I say, become part of people's lives, and not just, it's not just about you and how that person can benefit you. It's how you can benefit that person as well. And so it's super good book for networking and learning how to talk to people, how to build relationships, things like that. And there's another one called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty by Harvey Mackay.
I heard of that one.
Yeah, dig your well before you're thirsty, and that is kind of they kind of go hand in hand. They're in a way similar books, but they basically teach you how to build a network the right way, and just they're kind of old books too, but they're timeless, you know. So definitely, especially if you're wanting to
And who wrote that
learn
one?
how to better talk to people and better relate to people, those two books will really help you out a lot. But
Who wrote
finish
that
10x rule first.
Yeah,
10x
I
rule
have
is the
one chapter left. Actually,
oh really?
you are on top of it. Page 175, and I just read embrace change and determine to take the right approach. I'm on breaking traditions now.
Awesome,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It's a good book, huh?
Yeah, it is. Man, people are looking at me crazy right now because I'm nonstop. My dad, I told him about this interview. He was like, "What's that for?" I'm like, just get my name out, I guess. Like, okay.
Right.
Like, yeah, when you texted me about if I was still good for tonight, I was actually prepping for a job I have scheduled in the morning, and that's when he was actually coming. He was prepping with me, and he was like, "What is that for?"
That's yeah. So that's one of my biggest deals is I want to help people reach their potential. And it's like, if I can help you become comfortable on camera, then guess what? You start your own series of videos and your own instructional videos, and you help other people, and it just grows from there. And
Yeah,
interviews are cool because it's a very good, easy, non-formal, no judgment type way to just talk about ideas and talk about the right things in life.
yeah. And I like how this setup we have, it's on Zoom. I feel like I'd be a lot nervous if I would see the people on Facebook like liking and hearting on the bottom right and making comments popping up. I'm like, oh God. If I was reading that right now, I'd probably turn off the
phone. Yeah, you just gotta ignore all that, man. It's your interview, say what you gotta say, and the comments will sort themselves out. But plus the cool thing is, you/me, we're still just kind of starting out. So even if we totally suck, there's probably not too many people watching anyway.
Hopefully in a year from now, I'll be on a stage somewhere telling about my life story. And
Breaking right, dude. Breaking right. And
the goal, I always wanted to be a public speaker and not like an influencer or whatever.
There you go.
I'm just not good at it.
Hey, nobody's good when they start.
I tried with my girlfriend, but I don't think it's working out.
We'll get her on and see what she says.
I'm doing something wrong, man.
She's like, yeah, he sucks.
She's watching right now too. I know it. I can feel it. Like the hairs on my neck are standing up right now. She's talking about me.
Nah, you'll be fine. Y'all be fine. Just take her to a nice dinner. Listen, right? Listen, and y'all be fine. So, tell us a little bit about 10X rule, man. Like, what are some of the? Because I talk about it all the time, dude. I'm telling you, it's the Bible is like a certain far number one, right? But as far as a number two book that has changed the course of my life, 10X rule is definitely number two. So what are some things that you have gotten out of it that you feel like has changed who you are, how you see things, or your mindset? Like, what are some good things you've gotten from the book?
So the 10X rule, the 10X stands for, I think Grant started out by saying, do 10 times more action and put in 10 times more energy than everybody else around you.
Yep.
And you'll become successful. So with that, I started thinking of different ways to become successful. And just the first week, I thought of 3 business ideas that I was able to start. Like, I started saving up for that lawnmower, and I plan on making a business out of that. Watch out, all your local lawn care services out there. Bryce Sanders is coming for you.
That's right.
I'm gonna dominate this sector.
Breaking right, dude. Shut them down. Shut them down, Bryce, and then they can come work for you.
And also, I've been having this plenty of opportunities to get wire spools from work. That's one thing. They call it the electrician's trash can at work, because in the center of the wire spool there's that hole, and it's easy just to stuff trash in there and forget about it, right? Well, I posted on my Snapchat, I think it was early last week, and I asked if there was any artists interested in making some extra money on the side. And sure enough, I had a local buddy of mine said his girlfriend was pretty good at it, and he showed me some of her pictures and paintings. And she is gifted, man. I got to show you that wire spool. She has a Louisiana state painted on it with a swampy sunset. Cool. And look, it is realistic. I think I gave her the idea. She said it was missing something. She only painted that on the top, the face of the wire spool. I said, how about put some fleur-de-lis around the walls of it, like the center of it. So I think that's what she's working on now. But that was another thing I started that week that I started reading this book. It influenced me a lot to just open my mind to many other ways, and to just be productive and not slow down, because if you slow down and get comfortable, you'll stay there. Don't ever get comfortable. Whenever you get comfortable, you're doing something wrong.
Right. And there's a difference between being, content with your life and like satisfied. You know what I mean? So I'm listening to the book again, and yesterday he said something that just really stuck out to me. He said, success is like air. Your last breath of air was important, but it's not nearly as important as your next breath of air. And I was just like, like he's so right. And like when you're like, I know you're semi joking, but not really, whenever you said, you're about to shut down all the lawn care businesses around you. The second they start getting complacent, that's when a guy like you comes around and just totally owns them. And I'm going to be doing the same thing with my companies. And it's just a different mindset. And again, it's not all about me. The more we grow, the more we give people opportunities to join our team, to come work for us, to come cut lawns for us, to do whatever. We're making a difference globally.
Yeah. I also need to get with you about, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I told you how I tried to file for an LLC 3 times. Didn't work.
No.
Oh, well.
How did you, what?
Dude, I went to GoBiz 3 separate times. And for some reason, it's just, I'm doing the process wrong. But now I decided I want to hold off on the LLC right now. And when I get that lawnmower, I want to do the LLC with employees, and just, I want to grow. I want to grow like that. I think I can. I know I can.
Let's talk about that. For what you're going to be doing, you definitely want to get the LLC first, and go ahead and get the legal and paperwork side of that. Actually, if you're interested, I kind of wanted to do a training video on how to start an LLC. So if you're interested, we could do another interview like this. Not really interview, but we could basically do it together online, record it, and that could be my training video.
Yeah, definitely. I'm down.
Because like it shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes just to get all the paperwork and stuff submitted. And like why it was rejected is kind of bad. So maybe you must not have clicked something right.
Well, I wasn't doing something. I'm going to GoBiz. I'm trying to start my own private business or whatever, however the tab says, whatever the tab says. And I click on it, make an account, I set up an email, I do all that, gets emails back, but like I never get that EMI number or whatever it's called, EIN. Yeah, whatever. Never get that.
You gotta go through the IRS website to get that.
Oh, told you I was doing something wrong.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. That'll
okay, great.
The point of an LLC is, basically if you're doing everything as your business, then if somebody sues you, they can't come for like your house and your kids and stuff like that. And especially if you're going to be doing like a labor type thing, you definitely want your LLC.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus, it helps with accounting and kind of keeping things separate at some point. But well, that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
So back to 10x rule. Okay, go.
Oh, yeah, it really changed my life. If I see myself slowing down, like I sit down and when I get home and eat lunch, supper, I mean, and watch TV, I watch TV for like 10 minutes and I'm like, I'm wasting my time.
Right.
Literally get up and go do something. So I come in here, I do some research on the laptop. I might listen to a little bit of the podcast, or I'll pick up a book and read it. And if it's dark outside, if it's still daylight outside, I'm outside working. I'm trying to organize. I'm trying to stack some wood up. I'm trying to sharpen a chain to a chainsaw. I'm doing something
Right.
to make my life easier and make the business more efficient.
And that is why you will be way ahead of the game in 5 years. You're going to look around at all the other 26-year-olds, and they're going to be doing whatever they're doing, and you're going to be, turning in your badge at the plant, going to manage all of your businesses and everything you're doing. They're going to be like, "What the crap, Bryce?" And you're going to be like,
Yeah, you know that that saying, neck deep and whatever. No, everybody else is going to be hairline deep in debt, because that's what everybody's doing now. They have just a sliver of money saved up, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, paying off their debt.
Right. And they don't have the other income streams
Exactly.
to support themselves.
You get the assets to pay for your debt.
Right.
You don't make your debt more than what your assets are supplying you.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. You're dead on, man. And I am trying to think of a political way to say this, but I'll just go ahead and say it. I really think that sports and entertainment and Netflix is really going to cause a lot of people to fail in the next decade. People are going to be so busy working, they're not going to be making enough money. We're already at 7% inflation. Kind of wanted to say that too. The good thing with the business is that you can basically kind of open the tap on your income, and the more you work, the more you get paid. It's not like a job where there's only so many hours you can work. And we're already at 7% inflation. People are only getting 3% raises, so they're losing money by the day basically with their job. It's like, people spend so much time on sports when they could be, doing like what you're doing outside, splitting firewood and doing whatever else you're doing. We got to wake people up to this, man. We are almost to the point of, I don't want to say crisis, but I would definitely say emergency. People gotta wake up, man. We are not of the type of people with a certain amount of money that can just kind of sit back on our haunches. We gotta put in the time and work and get our cash flow going.
Yeah, I don't understand this trend nowadays. Work for nothing, basically. That 401k, what, you're gonna make $500,000 and you're gonna try to live off of that for 20 years. So your retirement, it's $500,000 is not really that much. If you're gonna stretch it out over 20 years, that's, like you said, it's just gonna afford what to put on your table for the next 20 years. And
right,
pretty much it. You gotta find different ways.
And what really bothers me with 401ks is that we have, and Wall Street has, I'm convinced, this is a little bit of conspiracy theory part of me, but I don't care. I am convinced that Wall Street has affected this part of our education system, because think about it, who makes money whether your 401k does great or whether it tanks? Stock people, hedge fund managers, right? They always make money. So they're like, hey, put all your money in your 401k, and grow it over time. It's like, yeah, I think you should make investments, but why just have a big pot of money that you sit on when you're 60 years old? why not have multiple income streams that can support you indefinitely versus just have this one big pot of money that you try to manage until you die? That is that is a totally different way of thinking that I kind of think are like, if you think about the farming days and the agrarian society we used to be, they would work the farm, right? And the farm was their supply when when they got old, when they were young, it was the land and the supply, right? And I think we need to treat our income streams like that, where we're not just, retirement is not, I just, sit on my big pot of money and pray that it lasts. Retirement should be like, I manage my 74 different income streams that are continuously supplying money. And that way, if the stocks go up or the stocks crash, I still have income coming in. I think
Yep.
that's a much safer bet than, God, please let this $3 million last me, because $3 million isn't going to be very much either here soon.
It's like, try to compare your income stream to a person. Say your job is a person. Can you depend on that person every single day of your life?
Exactly.
Are they going to sleep in that one day that you really need them? Or are they going to get sick for a week and they can't function at all?
Right.
Then what are you going to do? Why not have a team of people, a group of assets to take care of you?
Right. Exactly.
And then have it. What's that term called? When money flows without you doing anything.
Passive income.
Passive income. Thank you. I just love the idea of passive income. Getting a check through the mail when you can relax and sit on your butt and you still get paid. That's a dream.
So here's my take on passive income. Okay. Passive income does not exist. What I like to call it is front end loaded income. Because think about it. Passive income comes from the amount of work, time, and effort that you put in to get something going. And then once it's going and self-sustaining, then it becomes passive, right? People think, oh, I can just, put my money in the stock market and I'll be okay. Or I'll just, I'll try to start this business and just let it work for itself or whatever. But they don't understand the amount of effort it takes to get that going. And then you get paid for it.
Yeah.
So I like to call it front end loaded income.
Front end loaded income. Okay. So all the work's up front and then.
Right.
Then
Exactly. You do all the work up front, but it's not, that's what I say. It's like, okay, passive kind of, yeah, but I worked really hard. I worked really hard for 6 years to get here,
It's just like those, I'm referring back to the Bigger Pockets podcast. There was another couple, separate from the ones I talked about earlier. They also did house flipping, and their first house, they worked on it for 3 months, and they were putting in 15 to 18 hours of work each day.
Exactly.
And they said something like, all right, my time is worth more than $5 to $7 an hour, what you're actually getting paid after you sell that house and make the profit. But if you get better at it, you learn from that first house where you make a hourly rate of $5 an hour. If you want to even do that math, I don't know why people did that math, but you get that knowledge, and then your next flip, you do it in say 3 weeks, and you put in 10 hours a day on the job, and because you got that good at it, and you know how to do it now, and you make a $30,000 more profit than last time. It adds up. It might not be the cash the first time, but it's definitely the knowledge.
Absolutely. And again, that's why I preach to people all the time. You got to start today. You can't wait till you're good at it, because then you'll never get good at it. You have to get the experience. You got to learn the mistakes. You got to learn it today, and then you can get paid tomorrow.
As soon as possible. Yeah. I actually, I brought up the 7K medals to somebody one of my friends, and she went to school for like marketing. And I'm like, hey, I might actually have something for you. You might be interested in it. She didn't even watch that video. Was not interested in it at all. I'm like, you can invest, a very easy way to invest for an average Joe person. And you can also make a little bit of money on the side. Why not start now? So
Right.
when you're 10 years down the road, you're sitting in a big pot of silver and you're getting some cash out of it
And
too.
some
Like,
cash, right?
I don't
So
understand it.
let's
Zero
explore that a
interest.
little bit because we've been going for an hour. Doesn't feel like it, does it?
No,
Yeah.
no, not at
So
all.
you're 21, right?
Yes,
21. How old will you be in 10 years?
31.
All right. And if you could be financially free in 10 years, I'm sorry, financially free at 31, do you think it would be worth the 10 years of, hard work, blood, sweat, and tears?
Definitely.
So,
Absolutely.
so
100%.
people,
No
and that's
doubt.
what I'm trying to figure out. I need to pray about this more apparently because I'm trying to figure out how to communicate this to people. Who cares if it takes 5 years from now? For me, 5 years, I'll be 41. If it takes 5 years for me to be financially independent at 41, no brainer, right? So who cares if it takes a long time to get it? Once you're there, right? And I'm trying to wake people up to that. You got stop saying, "Oh, well, I'm not going to make money for 3 more years." It's like, okay, but then you're making money 3 years from now. Like what? Why is that a sticking point? And I'm trying to figure out how to communicate that message to people, man, because we gotta get out of that, man. We gotta get out of that mindset.
Yeah, I went to a party, my friend's birthday party last weekend, and I had one person actually noticed me over there, noticed all the work I've been doing. So I was like, dude, I'm getting noticed already. It's just
There you
crazy.
go.
And shout out Jamie Amo if you're watching. Um, but everybody else was like, I'm living my best life and can't hardly get that phrase out of their mouth how messed up they are. Just
Right.
drinking so much. I'm living my best life. Might as well do it now at a young age. I'm like, why? It's not healthy. It's not. It's just a waste. You're spending money on the alcohol, and you're doing it pretty much every weekend. So you're spending even more money because your tolerance is up, and then you're not learning anything from it. You're doing the same
Right.
thing over and over again each week. And I was trying to talk people out of it, but it never works. Never. And I was the party poop over there because I was completely sober.
Right. Yeah, and that kind of goes into my like selective team membership thing because you want good people on your team that are going to uplift you, and there's a lot of people out there that they're comfortable with their life and where they're at, and I'm you can try to wake them up till you're blue in the face, but sometimes people just have to they got to go through the fire before they'll wake up to what they need to be doing.
You're exactly right, man.
Yeah. So last question, okay. We'll go ahead and start wrapping it up, but so kind of along that same note, what do you think is the number one thing holding people back from working harder or starting their own business or something like that? What do you think is that that is holding people back?
I want to say the same thing, two things I said earlier: the lack of knowledge and the criticism from their peers. I've been criticized so much from the people I even looked up to. It's sad, but it's true. Like weekly, I get criticized, but I learned to block it all out and focus on what I'm doing.
Yep. Man,
So
that criticism from people closest to you thing, that
it
is
hurts. Oh my goodness,
freaking
it hurts.
real. It is real as this Mickey Mouse cup. And it is and yeah, it's painful, man. Like you said, even people you look up to, people that were your friends, and like I've even had people that I like friends that I had talked about like starting a business and doing all this stuff. And then when I started doing it, they looked at me like I was some sort of idiot, like, "Oh, you're doing that?" Like, yeah, we talked about this. And I'm like, "Oh, well, You
Or
sure? Like,
one big phrase I get told all the time by people closest to me. It's not everything's about money. Well, it's not about money. You're right. But if I am, say, 31 years old, no longer worrying about money, and I can go on vacations every month, and I could take my family, even my brothers and my parents out to dinner and pay for the whole thing without even worrying about the paycheck. Like that's amazing. I actually wrote a goal down. I mean, let me look over this. I wrote a goal down. I have a cousin that just had a kidney transplant. I think it was earlier this year. He was born with no kidneys. So
what?
it's a very sad story. But his first kidney was from his mother,
Wow.
and you know how organs go. You can only donate to people that are similar to you, right?
Yeah.
So his recent kidney was from his brother. So now his mom, his brother, and him only have one kidney. So I made a goal. It's actually goal number 5: be able to pay for a kidney. And
That's awesome, man.
that's a big motivator for me.
That is awesome. Let's talk about that just a little bit. People that say stuff like it's not all about money, you know, I'll just be blunt and say it. That is people that have no idea how the world really works. Money, as in a way sad as it is to say it, money is
Make
how
the
the
world
is
go
the
round,
lifeblood of literally everything you do. And what money is, it is just the exchange of value, right? You want somebody to do something for you or help you with something, you have to exchange something of value in return, right? That's all money really is. And for people that say it's not all about money, it's like, well, then what are you doing for, the people that need a kidney transplant? For one, a very similar story. I've always, somehow or another, I've always noticed like people with disabilities and, people that are in wheelchairs and have like cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, things like that. It's like the financial burden of that is incredible. And it's like, I want to help people with that. I was like, okay, well, how do I help people with that? Well, I can't just, go over to their house and shake their hand and, wish them well. I have to have money to be able to pay for housing for them or to pay for a wheelchair or whatever it is, and people that say it's not all about money, it's like, no, it's not about money. It's about helping people, get their wheelchair, helping people, if they lost their job to be able to pay for their mortgage, like not just 1 month, like wipe the mortgage out. It's like, that's the kind of cool stuff you can do with huge income streams. And that is what it's all about. It's not the money in and of itself, right? It's what you
What you
can
can
do
do
with the
with it.
money. And it's
Yeah.
like, and then I don't have to worry about, losing my job for something stupid or, God forbid I get in a wreck and I can't take care of my family or something like that. That's what it's about. It's not about, a yacht and a mansion and all this other stuff. It's about security for me and my community.
Yeah. Having multiple life insurance plans where your family don't have to worry another day in their life if you
Right.
do pass. And even having those life insurance plans, you can also have the how you said it, the work upfront money or whatever, the passive income,
Front end loaded.
front end loaded, yeah, income. Having that too, and being able to divide that among your family after you're gone, so
No
they all
doubt.
have a little pinch of the
And
pie.
then, I mean, think about, Bryce, think about how hard you have worked to get where you're at. What
I
if
still feel like I didn't work enough yet.
your future son or future daughter, they can stand on the level and the platform that you have created, and then they can get even more ahead. That's what this is all about. I don't want my girls and my son now. Sometimes I forget I have a son now. um, I don't want my kids to have to struggle like what I like. I want them to feel pain. I want them to work hard. I want them to do all those things. But dude, there's a lot of bad stuff that I went through too that was money related, and it was very easily preventable money related type stuff. And I don't want them to go through that just because I didn't work hard enough. I don't want them to, not have braces just because I chose to play video games when I got home instead of, figuring out a business. That's the kind of stuff that really like, it's the like a what do you call it, a cattle prod. That's like what jabs me. It's like, I want to give my kids, the stuff that held me back in life that was just from like money and not working hard. I want to get rid of all that. So yes, I want to teach them to work hard. They're not going to have life handed to them, blah blah blah, but they're also not going to have to deal with as much of the crap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bryce, I'll give you the final word. Why don't you give us some good thoughts to end the night with?
So to anybody that's trying to get started and building a business, or just getting out of the comfort zone and trying to start something for themselves, I wrote some things down. Block out the criticism. That's a big one. Embrace the change, because there's going to be a lot of change happening. Break traditional ideas. So your normal 9 to 5, don't think that's good enough. Break that. Do better. Don't be afraid to take risks. Fall in love with the challenges, because there's challenges all over the place, opportunities, and just take it and conquer it. Have that can-do attitude, and last but not least, make success your duty and obligation or responsibility. Quote by Grant Cardone.
Bravo, sir. Yeah, that goes back to like the kidney and the wheelchair and all that, man. We have
It's
a
my
moral
duty.
obligation to be as successful as we possibly can. You're right. So, all right. So we will. So Bryce, very good interview. Good chat.
Thank you.
You did a lot better than you think you did.
I did.
And so anyone that is watching this, okay, especially if you're a young guy like Bryce, all right, get in touch with him and join his team. Okay, let Bryce show you some of the ropes that he's learned. Let him help you out. And hey, guess what? Me and Bryce are on the same team, so we will help you out together. But especially for the people that might be watching this, that they don't know where to start, they need some help. We got you, man. Let's come join up with us. Come do what we're doing. Come join the gold team, and we will change the world together. So Bryce, again, thank you. You're awesome, man. Looking forward to 5 years. I actually I should put an alarm on my phone for 5 years from today, and see where you're at, because I bet you'll be a 26-year-old millionaire.
I hope so. That would be nice, and you'll be a billionaire.
Me too. Then you can like
For the
take
beat.
me hunting or something.
Be a billionaire. You're gonna be taking me to your hunting lease.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, have a good night, everybody. Bryce, thanks again, man.
Thank you, Scott. Good night.